This is a Curtis clipper, number 15. It is a handheld key cutter, and typically it is used for the automotive application. These are the key carriages. These mount right in here. You loosen this thumb screw. This key carriage with the lettering faces up. It goes in, snaps in place, basically. You tighten it down. That will also set the spacing parameters. This spring steel right here, that is angular in both ways, will catch on those serrations, and that is how spacing is achieved. Depth indexing is achieved via this plunge pin that plunges in to the Curtis clipper cam divots. Is this proper nomenclature? I don't know, but it is the best that I can do to explain it to you. So, how this works: the lettering on the cams faces to the left. Like a liberal, I'm just kidding. If you find that offensive, then leave. So I'm trying to get this to fit. We'll put the adapter in first. Perhaps that will help me. So the adapter slides on the right side. Okay, you just line it up. Okay. And then you take your pen. If that's not proper nomenclature, then I don't know what is. And you push it in. Make sure it's aligned. Booyah. And it's in. There's your cam. And so if you had your key carriage in, which I'll try to do one-handed again. Boy howdy. This is becoming longer than it should. That's what he said. Get in there. Okay, so now the key carriage is not 100% seated in its place like it should be, because I am one-handed like a pirate right now. Give it the old knee like the cops like to do. Okay, here we go. So now you would move it to the start position, and that would be your first cut. And you can actually see that that spring steel will ride inside of the divots, and that's how the spacing is achieved. And so say you wanted to do a depth cut of number 1, you would pull the lever down, and then you would squeeze, and it pushes that pin into that cam divot associated with depth 1, and the punch would go right through the key blank. And so you'd move on to your next cut, and you can hear it. It's got a nice detent. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, and so your space 2 is set. Space 3, 4. Of course, this is the wrong cam. That's why the spacing is not lining up. I'm just showing an example. All right. But that's how a Curtis clipper works. Now, this case that mine came with is really cool because it came with key gauges or decoders. It came with the service wrenches that you use to break this guy down and take it apart. It came with spare cams that fit into onto dowels in this lovely green box. It's a very cool setup. One more to go. And all these carriages can fit into this little drawer. Of course, I'm not going to take the time out right now to put them in their slots, but also the wrenches fit in there, the key gauges. I'm going to throw this little part in there too, and the Curtis clipper itself. And it has this little piece of metal to keep it in its place. We have measurements up here. There it is. And you can set this guy up to cut motorcycle keys, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Honda, Yamaha. I had one and I used it for Yamaha all the time. It can cut Mazda, Chrysler, Mitsubishi, Toyota, lots and lots of stuff. It's extremely modular. Basically, this type of tool, you're limited by your imagination, because the key carriage is what carries the key blank that fits, and also it carries over specific spacing information. And then the cams, you know, they have to coordinate with spacing in order for the dowel pin to line up properly. But they carry, you know, depth information. So if you mix and match, you can basically, you know, simulate almost any pattern, and it's really cool. But the only problem is there's so many parts that you have to account for, and they're actually pretty fragile springs right here. They're called a saddle spring. So basically that's why it failed. And this piece the rail will bend, and so but ultimately they're really cool if you take care of them and you can use them. So if you're getting into locksmithing, definitely pick them up. They're a sweet tool to own.